Have you ever watched a Halloween movie, sat back and wondered if Jason Voorhees could actually run Haddonfield the same way Michael Myers does, or if he would end up getting completely humbled? And if so, you've come to the right place, my friend, because today I'm putting the human version of Jason Voorhees into the Halloween 2018 timeline to see if he could actually make it through all three movies and actually come out on top or not. Now, you might be wondering, why am I using human Jason instead of the undead version? For starters, I mean, Michael Myers is technically a human, so using human Jason makes the matchup a lot more fair. And secondly, if I used undead Jason, this video would probably be over before it even started. And that version of Jason is just way too ridiculous because, dude, Jason X, I mean, that version is OP. So with that being said, let's see how human Jason from Friday the 13th parts 2 through 4 would actually do in Haddonfield. And before Jason even has to worry about Laurie Strode, I think his first major problem is simply Haddonfield itself, because Haddonfield and Camp Crystal Lake are completely different environments. Now, Jason is basically built for Crystal Lake. I mean, hell, that's where he grew up at. Now, you could say as well this would be vice versa for Michael Myers if you put him at Camp Crystal Lake, but I would argue that Camp Crystal Lake would actually be easier for Michael to operate in, because once you get good at hiding in these shadows in a populated suburban neighborhood, the woods would be almost 10 times easier, because he would have miles of woods to disappear into, barely any witnesses, and groups of people constantly separating from each other. Someone can scream in the middle of the woods and there's a pretty good chance nobody is coming to help them. Now, Jason can kill somebody, drag their body away, disappear behind the trees, and then move on to the next person before anybody even realizes someone is missing. So at Camp Crystal Lake, I would give it to him, he is pretty stealthy, because human Jason is not just some mindless idiot who just walks directly toward everyone he sees. In part 2, he stalks the counselors around the camp and manages to kill almost all of them individually without immediately alerting everyone else. He even sets up situations where he can catch people alone, but the movie also shows one of the biggest problems Jason would have in Haddonfield. Deputy Winslow literally spots Jason running across the road, follows him into the woods, and then tracks him back toward his shack. Jason obviously kills him when he gets close, but that whole situation works because Jason has the woods to retreat to. Now, put the same situation in the middle of a neighborhood and Jason doesn't have nearly as many places to disappear, he's kind of cooked. And that's where Michael Myers is simply better suited for Haddonfield, or just simply a populated area. Now, you could argue, what about when Jason goes to New York City? Well, that's undead Jason. We're talking about human Jason. Now, Michael can somehow move through entire neighborhoods without giving people a clear idea of where he is. He can stand across the street watching someone disappear behind a house and then move on to another property before anyone even understands what has happened. And throughout Halloween 2018, there are already police searching for Michael at the beginning of the movie. Laurie also knows he's loose and people are getting murdered left and right. Yet Michael still manages to move through Haddonfield without getting surrounded or caught. Jason doesn't really operate like that. Like, once Jason decides he wants somebody dead, he usually starts forcing his way toward them. He goes full on barbarian mode, doors get broken down, and eventually Jason is chasing somebody through a cabin or a house. And that works perfectly when your nearest neighbor is probably miles away, but in Haddonfield, there could be a family literally 20 feet from you. And remember, this is Halloween night. There are kids walking around and people constantly looking out their windows. And yes, Jason wearing a hockey mask will blend in because everyone else is wearing costumes around him, just like Michael Myers blended in because he was wearing a costume during Halloween. But then people might notice a big gigantic dude acting really strange. And Jason's size also works against him here. Michael is a big guy too, standing at 6'3" in this film, played by James Jude Courtney, but Michael, is slimmer than Jason, and he also moves slowly and deliberately enough that he doesn't draw attention until he wants to. Jason, on the other hand, draws attention. He is also built like a tank. If somebody sees him clearly and calls the police, the description is not exactly going to be difficult at all. Like, yeah, we're looking for an enormous guy wearing a hockey mask with a really, and I mean, oh my god, really disfigured face. I mean, you should see this guy. I don't know what's wrong with him. You're probably going to narrow that suspect list down pretty quickly. And this is important because human Jason absolutely does not want to get into a gunfight with the Haddonfield Police Department either. Now, I know Jason's durability is insane, but sometimes people take feats from zombie Jason and then accidentally give them to human Jason. But we're not doing this here. But still, even when Jason is a human, he can still take an absurd amount of punishments. For example, in part 2, Ginny drives a machete deep into Jason's shoulder and knocks him out. Then part 3 takes this durability to another level. Jason gets hit over the head with a shovel, gets hung from the barn, and then regains consciousness while literally dangling from the rope. Then after that, Chris drives an axe directly into his head, and he doesn't die from that as well. Because the final chapter begins with Jason's body being taken to the morgue where he eventually wakes back up. And that is ridiculous durability for somebody we're still calling a human. So I mean, if Jason gets his hand on almost anybody Michael kills in Halloween 2018, I actually think Jason has an easier time killing them. So there's no doubt there that Jason is going to obviously kill as much as Michael does, probably even more. Now, I don't think Jason struggles because he's weaker than Michael. It's almost the opposite. Jason's biggest weakness in this situation is that he relies too much on being stronger than everybody else. Like, if police arrive and Jason is trapped in the open, brute strength really isn't saving him here. Maybe he tanks the first bullet and maybe he tanks a lot more, but if multiple officers are firing at him from a distance, eventually something important is going to get hit within his body and he is going to go down. So realistically, Jason's first challenge is making it through Haddonfield without attracting this kind of attention to him. But let's give Jason the benefit of the doubt, because otherwise this video ends halfway through. Let's say Jason manages to stay out of sight enough, avoids getting surrounded by police, and eventually ends up where Michael does at the end of Halloween 2018, Laurie Strode's house. And this is where I think Jason encounters the worst possible person in Haddonfield for the way he operates. It is a giant Michael Myers trap that she happens to live inside. She has spent decades preparing for Michael to come back. She has firearms hidden around the house, security measures, metal barriers that can seal rooms off, and literally everything in this house. Now, Laurie isn't improvising everything as Michael attacks her. She has thought about this exact situation for years, and ironically, Jason might be even easier to lure through that house than Michael. That's because human Jason has shown that you can manipulate him. Ginny does exactly that in part 2 when she discovers Pamela Voorhees' shrine, and then she pretends to be Jason's mother, and for a moment it actually works. Jason stops attacking because Ginny gets inside his head and uses his emotional attachment to Pamela against him. Now he eventually realizes what's happening, but the fact that Ginny can confuse him long enough to create an opening says a lot, and Michael Myers does not have that problem at all. Now, Laurie might not know Jason's childhood or anything about Pamela, so obviously she might not pull that same exact trick, but what she does understand is how to bait a killer into going where she wants him to go. Because Jason is extremely straightforward once he's chasing somebody. If Laurie retreats into another section of the house, Jason is going to follow her. Now, Jason's strength lets him bypass normal obstacles, but Laurie's entire plan depends on the killer continuing deeper into the house. Now, if Jason actually catches Laurie, I mean, she's 100% done, for sure. I don't really think that's debatable at all, but Laurie survived Michael because she created distance and uses the environment to her advantage. Like, she didn't try to wrestle with Michael, and she's not going to do this with another big monster coming at her. Also, Laurie manages to shoot Michael during the movie, and when they fight at the house, she blows off 2 of his fingers. Karen later shoots Michael as part of the plan before Laurie and her family finally trap him inside the basement and then set the house on fire. If those same attacks happen to Jason, he probably survives them. Honestly, after seeing him take a machete through the shoulder, I feel like he could definitely do that. But they would definitely hurt him, and that's the difference between human Jason and undead Jason. Now, Laurie doesn't need to instantly kill Jason, she just needs to keep him moving toward the basement, and I think Jason absolutely takes that bait. Now, Jason is trapped underneath the house. Laurie opens the gas lines and the entire place starts going up in flames. Initially, I was tempted to say that this is where Jason dies, and if the firefighters never arrive, I still think there's a good argument that he does. But we know from Halloween Kills that the house doesn't simply burn until there's absolutely nothing left. Firefighters arrive almost immediately and begin putting out the fire, which is what gives Michael his opportunity to escape. So I'm actually going to give human Jason the same opportunity. be. Although I really don't think he would be that smart to really escape from this house. I'm just gonna be dead ass honest here. I just really don't see a world where he has the IQ to actually escape from this house while it's burning. But after he gets out, he's going to be in a horrible condition. His clothing is probably burned. His skin is also damaged more than it already is. But we're talking about a guy who was left with an axe buried in his head and still woke up in the morgue afterwards. Now, of course, when Jason meets the fighter fighters, just like Michael did, he would obviously run through them, no doubt. It's probably even easier than Michael did. So is Jason Voorhees surviving Halloween 2018? And I'm actually going to say yes, he does. But I don't think he is surviving Halloween Kills. And the reason goes all the way back to the biggest difference between human Jason and Michael in this timeline. Michael's durability in these movies starts going beyond what a normal human being should realistically be capable of surviving. Human Jason's durability is ridiculous, but the final chapter gives us a very clear ending point. Tommy Jarvis kills Jason by driving a machete into the side of his skull, and Tommy repeatedly attacks him until Jason finally stops. And the important part is that Jason actually dies. He stays dead until Jason lives, when Tommy accidentally resurrects him years later because, dude, he's an idiot. I don't know what more to say. Now look at what happens to Michael at the end of Halloween Kills. Karen leads Michael directly into a mob of Haddonfield residents who have been waiting for him all this time. He is completely surrounded. The mob attacks him with bats and other weapons. He's also stabbed and then he gets shot before he eventually collapses down to the ground. Everyone believes they finally killed him, only for Michael to get back up and then just slaughter every single body. But for human Jason, this is where I feel like I draw the line. And could he kill some of them? Absolutely. I feel like he kills a bunch of them. And I actually think the mob takes casualties before Jason goes down because, this is still Jason Voorhees. But there are simply too many people attacking him from too many directions while he's already completely weakened. And unlike Crystal Lake, Jason has nowhere to retreat. Like, this is basically the exact situation I said he needed to avoid at the beginning of the video. Standing out in the open while a large group of armed people knows exactly where he is. Michael survives it because by this point the movie is clearly portraying him as something beyond what Laurie and everyone else understood him to be. So I feel like once the mob knocks down Jason, they would finish the job. Now, he might take an insane amount of punishment before it happens, but eventually somebody lands a fatal shot or a weapon connects with his head badly enough to reflect what happened with Tommy Jarvis. So inevitably, I do not think that human Jason Voorhees could survive the Halloween movies. Now, again, as I already said in the beginning of this video, zombie Jason or undead Jason would completely run every single movie in the Halloween universe. I'm talking about from the original 1978 all the way up to, when did the last movie come out, in 2022 or something? Yeah, he would solo basically the entire verse. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this topic in the comments down below. Do you agree with this take, or do you think that human Jason would actually run the entire Halloween franchise?